for God.
Okay, so this is no good anymore, right?
Oh, glasses. No wonder everything's a little blurry.
Punch the nice holes in that other one.
If he's not.
All right. Yeah, okay.
No, don't worry about it. It's supposed to be running late.
She's there.
Oh,
wow.
hey.
All right, Steve Bone is in the meeting.
Yes.
You gotta sit next to
I
him,
had a
Chad.
text.
Yeah.
Just a little
No,
I'm
put
sorry.
him next to the HR guy. This is a
Yeah.
very- See what happens when you're not here?
Yeah, I'll make sure I'm here early next time.
Ready? Call the Truth in Taxation hearing to order. Please join in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call.
Jane Willenberg, yes. Chad Thompson,
Yes.
Jessica, Steve Bone,
Yes.
Robin,
Yes.
Brad Willenbach,
Yes.
Joe.
Yes. Okay, first tonight we have a Truth in Taxation hearing. Mr. Fox?
Thank you. So none of our numbers have changed since our tentative tax levy presentation last month. And we didn't receive any calls from the community with any concerns or comments on that at this time. So just to recap, we believe that EAV will increase in our county or in our area by 4% for next year. That's based on our conversations with the county assessor's office, just the county personnel, as well as history of EAV in our district. So we're looking at a 4% increase. As we explained last time, when we see something like a 4% increase, we ask for 6%. We do that because if we anticipate 4% and it goes up by 4.5%, we only get 4%. So we do the 6% so that we can capture the funds that are available to the district. So we always ask for more than what we anticipate what the actual percentage will be. So based on that, we are anticipating at 4%, which would be an increase of EAV to the amount of $504,473,511.36. Now, if it goes up by 4%, our tax rate is estimated to be 3.5376. Okay. This past year it was 3.5389. So basically stays the same or goes down very minimal, but it does not go up if it goes 4%. So that is our what we're anticipating and estimating for our tax levy. Are there any questions or comments that I can field for anybody?
Later in the meeting, the levy will be up for approval. So now I will entertain a motion and a second to adjourn the truth and taxation hearing.
Make a motion.
Motion by Chad,
Second.
second by Steve. Roll call.
Chad,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
Robin,
Yes.
Brad,
Yes.
Jill,
Yes.
Jane, yes.
All right, now I'll call our regular meeting, our Unit 40 Board of Education meeting to order. Roll call.
Desha, no. Steve,
Yes.
Robin.
Yes.
Brad,
Yes.
Jill,
Yes.
Jane, yes. Chad.
Yes.
Okay, we have some special guests tonight, I believe. Mr. Doan is
Sure.
going to recognize for us.
Well, first of all, Dalton, you want to stand up?
He is.
It looks like he
Do you have the video? So you can see. We'll have him stand over here so everybody can see. Dalton was nominated and was named an up-and-comer leader, received the Leader Award. And so that was started in 2020. And so we also have Austin Seymour. Austin's not here this evening, but Dalton was here and also was awarded a certificate and had a nice meal, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So that was tied in with the 40 under 40 through the Chamber of Commerce. So we wanted to make sure that we brought Dalton tonight to the board and to the public and let them know that he and Austin were both awarded that Up-and-Comer Leader Award. We're very proud of him, and I'll give him just a short little synopsis to just share what your plans are. You're a senior this year, correct?
Yes. So I'm planning on going to Florida University and majoring in construction management and minoring in business administration. And then I plan on going on and joining with a larger company and making my way up through the ranks.
Good. So Dalton's been busy. He's football, basketball, track too. Good. Well, so he's been busy year round. Even helped out and worked, I think, did an internship this summer
Yes.
at the junior high. So in construction management. So we want to say thank you and appreciate you coming today. And so if we can give him a round of applause. He hurried and got here from practice, right? Because I was driving in, I saw he was there. Okay, our next acknowledgement, we have Coach Kirk is here from the high school, and Jessica Larson, cross-country IHSA state qualifier. So if you could come up here just a little bit and you could talk about the year a little bit and introduce Jessica, and we'd certainly appreciate it.
This is Jessica Larson. She's a freshman at the high school this year, and she did qualify for the state cross-country meet this year. There's only been 2 girls in the history of EHS. One was a senior, and Jessica, like I said, is a freshman. So we are looking forward to 3 more years there, hopefully. And she had a great year as a freshman, especially. I really couldn't have asked for anything better. Her best time, which was at the state meet, she ran for the 3-mile course. She ran a 19:18, which was a PR. So she did really well. There were 236 runners. So there was a lot. I think maybe that, and you can maybe attest to this, but kind of caught her off guard. Not off guard, but there was just a lot of runners. We're just not used to that many. She did finish in the top half. She finished 109. So she did very well.
Any comments, Jessica?
I greatly enjoyed being a part of the cross-country team this past year, and I really appreciate being honored tonight. And I just thank you all for everything that you do on the school board.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
I'm assuming, Jessica, did you run in junior high?
Yes.
Okay, so just to remind the board, gosh, how many years ago did we start the junior high program?
She was the first. She was in 6th grade.
Okay, so when the board and the district reinstated started junior high cross country, and seeing the fruits of the.
And she made it to state as a 6th grader.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right?
great job.
Very good.
Thank you.
She's accompanied also by her parents, Robin and Jason.
Thank you for coming. Ryan, can you come on up? Ryan Elsasser was hired, beginning of the year, September, right? After the year started. Yeah. As a cafeteria director, and has hit the ground running. And so we wanted to bring him in front of the board and for the public also as well, just to introduce him and give him a little bit of opportunity to share some comments for the board and to the public. So Ryan was working here in town, and we're lucky enough to join the N40 family. So we appreciate you being here.
Blessed to be here. Thank you. My name is Ryan Elsesser. I'm a certified dietary manager. I was the 2020 manager, Illinois Healthcare Manager of the Year for the state of Illinois. Wrote down a few notes. Robin, I know you sent an email to Mr. Doan and asked some questions about supply and demand and labor and all that. And some of the things that we've done, no, it's not really affecting our students because they're getting what is on the menu. But when I came in, we had the initial challenge. Jason and I sat and talked about what are we going to do. We've got trucks that just aren't showing up. They're just canceling whole semi-loads, all 5 schools. And it's not just our schools, it's all around throughout the area, throughout the state, throughout the country. And so we started looking outside the box a little bit. I found a couple suppliers that weren't with them, our normal supplier. So I got some things set up in a hurry to get supplies from that company. Started getting some chicken strips, chicken nuggets, French fries, anything I could get my hands on, basically. Got this big freezer over at the junior high. Figured we might as well put some product in. So we did that through School Lunch Solutions. Commodities, of course. We have all the commodities that come regularly. They go over to the warehouse also. Fruits, vegetables. They send chicken products. They send ground beef, hamburgers, you name it. They send us anything that's United States produce. So we have a freezer full of that kind of stuff. So that helped out also. The biggest issue that we've had is what are you going to serve it on? You can have all the food in the world, but if you don't have any way to serve it, if you have no foam bowls or anything like that, that's the biggest problem for us. So had to start looking outside the box there also. Called all over, called Champaign, we called St. Louis, we called everywhere we could find. Found some moles in Fairview Heights. I got in the car, went to Fairview Heights, loaded the car with everything I could get. So yes, there's some higher expense because of that, but some things that we had to do. Couple things that are bothering me, I'm in the buildings all the time, every day almost, and I see kids not eating the food. And I don't know about you, but that drives me crazy. So started looking into the menus a little bit, what we could change up. I started a program at the high school for garden salads, side salads, fruit bowls, veggie bowls with dip, some healthier options there. And they're going really well. So that's one of the things I started. Also, things like, got this taco fiesta, whatever stuff that they were serving with breakfast. And I'm telling you, it looks as good as it sounds. So I wiped that out, started chili today. So kids, seeing results of that already, the kids are eating the chili instead of just throwing it all out. So starting to see some advantages to what we're doing. So I've started with some of the facilities ordering dipping sauces and things so that they can dip, like their chicken and sweet and sour, and they haven't had that option before. So that we're seeing some benefits from that also. Let's see. One of my strengths is thinking outside the box, and when I interviewed, I kind of shared with them that was something that I'm pretty good at. So, things like we're not able to get orange chicken in, so we're ordering orange sauce, and we're making them out of popcorn chicken. We're really good at thinking outside the box, and my cooking staff has really come together on that. So, trying to, if you talk to any of the teachers and stuff, we did for the teachers and service meals, we made meals for the teachers both nights. Went over really well, and would like to continue to do that. Pretty much I prepared all that myself and just took it out to the facilities and had them throw it in the oven for them. So went over really well, and I want to get into the thoughts of all of the staff, that my staff are a vital part of what's happening with your education. So, their nutrition helps with them being able to learn, with their mind. So that's one of my strong thoughts, and I hope I can get everybody on board with it. So that's me in a nutshell. My door's always open. My email is always there. Feel free to send me questions, suggestions, whatever. I'm open to all of it. But since I was coming tonight, I had my wife make you all pie. So enjoy.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Ryan.
Thank you, Ryan.
Give that man a raise.
No.
Because they did share. They're definitely homemade.
Well, I don't know. They have some high levels to live up to the apple pies we had a few years ago.
The
Yeah.
dentist, yeah.
Dennis brought in.
That's killer.
So anyway, last acknowledgement, turned over to Mr. Fox. Chris Robards from Petker Construction's here, and got a video to show, and it's about the junior high, and then we can move forward.
Thank you. So, the junior high, we're very, very proud of that project. We are starting to close it down and finishing things up. And so tonight, Chris is here, and let him say a few words here in a minute. I personally want to thank Chris. I'm glad he's able to come tonight. Chris has been involved in this project for all 3 years. So from the point where we hired Beckers as our construction management, he's been involved in every phase. Probably knows the project better than anybody involved. And he is the reason why we had the success we had. He made sure all the moving parts came together the way they were supposed to. So I really appreciate Chris and what the work you've done. So tonight we have a video that we want to show that was put together by Beckers for us to kind of highlight the junior high and what we tried to accomplish and what we did accomplish. And so Pretty special. The plan is to finish up all the small pieces of that project and then look at having an open house for the entire community in March. And so we're going to slowly over the next couple of months put out bits and pieces, get everybody's appetite wet, and in March host an open house where everybody can come and really check out what's happening at that school. So before we show the video, Chris, would you like to say anything? Or?
Yeah, you want me to speak from here or do I need to come
Come on up here.
Okay. Yeah, I would love to speak on it, actually. Thank you. And thank you all for having me. Thanks for the invite, Jason. What Jason said was a total lie. I do not know the project more than anybody. Honestly, you guys have been so great. I know there's so many faces behind the scenes that don't even get this project. 3 years, 3 summers. When you have a project for 10 weeks at a time and then take off for 9 months at a time, there's so much planning that went into this. Phase 1 in 2019, we had to deal with a quick turnaround, getting materials on site. Phase 2, we had a worldwide pandemic that hit where we had to be 6 feet from one another, wear masks and wash hands every day. Phase 3, we were still in that pandemic and we were also dealing with material and labor shortages. There was so much planning going on and I put so many hours in it and I'm one person. I know how much they don't know what I did. And I think that there is so much more that happened behind the scenes that I don't know what happened. Jason, Mark, the board, Kelsey, Charlie. I had a guy who was a 40 under 40 help me out this summer. We had a great staff from Effingham. There's folks from my office when I was out of town, the subcontractors, the prime contractors themselves, wonderful people. There's no way in the world this would have been completed without the people we had out there. So just the vision and the drive that you guys had is unbelievable. I'm extraordinarily proud to be a part of this project, just a small name on it. So Jason, if you will, show it. I would be remiss too if I don't mention that I do have Todd Taylor back here. Todd is our director of buildings and grounds. Vital in this as well, his whole team. All 5 of those guys played a big role. Matter of fact, they took care of the majority of the demolition work to save the district a lot of money as we went through because our guys would go in and take care of the demolition and then we weren't paying that prime rate as part of the construction project. So did a lot of work there as well. So here we go.
We used to have an old dilapidated building. It was functional, but it was definitely something from the past, not innovative, not something that fosters creativity for students.
When we remodeled this building, we spent a lot of time thinking about the technology, the building itself. And our goal was to have a physical structure that kids loved to come in, was safe, it was inviting, was bright. But we also wanted to equip the building with the technology to tear down the walls of the classroom and let kids learn on a global scale.
We looked at both performance contracting and construction management. And we did some education for our Board of Education on the difference of the two. We had both groups come in and present. And we had a previous relationship with Petker, and they've done projects here in Effingham, had a great reputation as a construction company, and more importantly, school construction is what we were looking for. And really, as a superintendent of schools, is overseeing a project like this, in the end, you have to be able to trust the people that you work with. And so Petker Construction was that natural fit.
We didn't have any swing space. So we didn't have any classrooms to move classes into, remodel classrooms, move them back and back and forth. So we had to take 3 summers and design a way to completely get all the way down to just the bare bones, an entire section of a building, put it back together in 10 weeks and have it ready for kids. And we had to do that over 3 summers, which makes it very difficult. The planning on that, trying to figure out how to get all the different trades in to do that work was a big task.
Parents and grandparents and other individuals in the community walk through this building. It used to be the high school many years ago, and it has changed. It's still the same hallways, it's still the same building, but what's inside that building and what's inside the classroom are learning environments that have moved forward 50 to 75 to 100 years. So we're set to move forward our district.
The renovation top to bottom, the infrastructure, the new walls, the new floors, the new computer labs, all of that combined has really, I think, reinvigorated our staff, which reinforces the kids and challenges the kids.
Everything just flows, and we offer a lot more opportunities for students in the innovative and creative ways that we have to engage them and push them farther.
Our district is constantly trying to think outside the box and create a learning environment where great things can happen. You know, one of our mottos is we want every staff, student, employee to come to school every day believing school is for me. When you walk into a building with the new color schemes and the new technology and the new windows, and you walk into a building that's just bright and happy and so many new things that you can do, it really makes you believe, hey, I can do anything. And through this remodel, we've just shown that that's where we are as a district, and that's what we want for our community.
I really feel like we've got a beautiful building for you guys. I appreciate the applause too. I just, again, every phase when it was completed, the teachers would come in waves. We kind of split it up into phase 1, 2, and 3. After phase 1, those teachers would come up. They'd keep thanking me so much as if I did anything. And phase 2 the same way. Phase 3, just more and more. Thank you guys. Thank the staff so much for the flexibility. It's not easy working around a project and having to sit for 2 long fall, winter, springs. So we really appreciate that. Todd, your crew, continued maintenance staff, obviously all the cleaning that you helped us out with. It was just an unbelievable community effort, and we appreciate it so much. So thank you all.
All right, thank you, everyone. That was great. Do we have any visitors that would like to address the board this evening? No? All right, then we are on to the financial report.
Okay, thank you. October, we finished with a net fund balance of $27,298,213.31. Operating funds made up $22,679,645.09. And our HLS balance was $1,658,064.86. Revenue received in the education fund locally, we received $570,749.16. From the state, we received $604,287.70. And federally, we received $146,802.60. All expenses over $5,000 are broke out separately within your packet. And our recommendations this month would be to reimburse the interest account in the amount of $2,408.56. Payment of bills in the amount of $1,717,737.61. Of that, $560,907.82 are HLS, part of the HLS project. So, are there any questions on the packet that I can answer for you?
All right, hearing no questions for Mr. Fox, then I'll entertain a motion in a second to approve the financial report, to reimburse the interest account in the amount of $2,408.56, and the payment of bills in the amount of $1,717,737.61.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Brad, second.
Second.
Second by Jill, roll call.
Steve,
Yes.
Robin,
Yes.
Brad,
Yes.
Jill,
Yes.
Jane, yes, Chad.
Yes.
All right, moving on to the consent agenda. This month we have 2 minutes to approve. We have the Facilities and Transportation Committee minutes, and we also have the October 25th regular meeting minutes. We have a cafeteria report. Mr. Fox, I don't know if you want to make any comments about the cafeteria report, or?
I can answer any questions you might have.
Yeah, anybody have any questions about it? We've had a pretty good cafeteria report already and live tonight.
Well, and the thing about Ryan is he's really hit the ground running. You gave him the applause before I stepped up to say anything, but he has really taken it to heart. He's jumped in. He is serving breakfast and lunch in a building every day. He's hitting all the buildings constantly, and he did. And whenever we asked him to make food for the staff, he stepped up and said, "I'm going to make it. I'm not going to have my cooks do it. I'm going to put more work on them." So he made all the meals we serve to staff for parent-teacher conferences himself. So he is really doing a great job. And the healthy choices he put together at the high school has been a huge hit. It's constantly selling out every day. And so that's all something new that he put forward. So we're really, really, really happy to have him as part of our group. So.
Thank you. All right. Student teachers, we have one student teacher for the second semester proposed, Callan McDowell, student teaching for Jim Hammer and Sarah Wyckoff at the high school in history. Fundraisers, I believe we have 2 fundraisers this month. We have the first one is Mustang Outreach, selling candy cane grants to students to raise funds to donate Christmas gifts to a nursing home. That's in December from the 15th to the 17th. We have one for Southside, which is jump rope and collection donations for the American Heart Association. And that runs from January 24th to February 18th. We have no field trips. No field trips. That would be the end of the consent agenda. So I'll entertain a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Motion.
Motion by Steve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Chad. Roll call.
Robin,
Yes.
Brad,
Yes.
Jill,
Yes.
Jane, yes, Chad,
Yes.
Steve.
Yes.
And we have no correspondence this month, so we are to the superintendent's report.
Okay, just a couple items here. First of all, in the Unit 40 Education Meeting Report of November 8th, just to remind everyone and the public, Saturday, December 7th from 7 to 11, Breakfast with Santa. That's a major moneymaker for the foundation. So I encourage everyone to come out and there's a lot of things other than just breakfast, but if you're hungry, you can definitely eat. But there's a lot of other things. It's a lot of hard work goes in on that. Enrollment report is enclosed for you to look through. And then I just want to make a point here to the public and to honor the individuals sitting around the table. Today, which is apropos, that today is November 15th, and it's School Board Members Day in Illinois. And so each year, November 15th marks the official statewide observance of School Board Members Day in Illinois. The day is an opportunity to show support for your Board of Education and the individual school board members who are committed to providing a local voice for our educational decisions. School Board Members Day is an occasion to recognize board members who serve as unpaid volunteers for the benefit of the students and community residents, while also acting on the front line of education advocates, providing a local voice and vision for the district. Never has school board leadership been more important than the last couple of years from the situations that we've been through. I just ask everyone here and then also online that's watching to help me in honoring and recognize our school board members on November 15th, Illinois School Board Members Day. So with a round of applause. Is sincerely appreciative of for myself and everyone in our district and our community for the work that these individuals do. I don't think people understand the amount of work that people on the school board do. And there's some tough decisions, but it's all in the best interest of our kids. And so I want to say thank you. So we appreciate that.
Thank you. Okay, we have new business then. Central Roof Project is first.
Yes. So we talked about the Central Roof Project. We approved it last month, the bid that for Care Brothers, $211,400. We have written for the maintenance grant on that, which is $50,000 of that. Well, our plan is to write for an HLS amendment for the remaining part so we can spend HLS dollars out of the HLS fund. To do that, we need a board approval for us to write an amendment to ISB to move forward with that. So we would ask the board tonight to allow us to go ahead and write an HLS amendment to ISB and submit that to seek to use those funds for paying for the rest of that. The leftover amount would be $161,400 that would need to be paid with HLS funds, so.
Any questions for Mr. Fox about that? Okay, then I'll entertain a motion and a second to approve the use of HLS funds for the central roof project.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Brad, second by Steve. Roll call.
Robin,
Yes?
Brad,
Yes.
Jill,
Yes.
Jane, yes, Chad.
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Motion carries. All right, next we have the 2021 tax levy approval. We held the hearing earlier, and now I will entertain a motion and a second to adopt the 2021 tax levy as presented.
Motion.
Motion by Steve, is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Brad. Roll call.
Brad,
Yes.
Jill,
Yes.
Jane, yes, Chad,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
Robin.
Yes. All right, next we have Mrs. Beck, report card data presentation.
I did not bring pies, I apologize. I just brought lots of numbers. Super exciting. So, annually, the school board has to approve the school report card data. We have to have an annual presentation and a release of data to the public, which will be tomorrow. It's all actually on the website currently as I'm speaking. In addition to that, any schools that have official school improvement plans have to be approved by the school board as well. So similar to last year when the presentation was short and sweet last year because we had COVID and we didn't do a lot of the assessing typically like we would have, and so the data was just simply not available. This year though, we have a little bit more data. The longitudinal data you'll see up at the top. Anything that has a possible COVID-19 impact is in red. That was designated by the state board. Some of the academic data will be released later in the year. It's not ready yet. What they did last year is they allowed the school districts to make a determination as to whether they wanted to give the state assessments either in the spring, like would be normal, under normal circumstances, or if they wanted to give it in the fall. We chose to do it in the spring, but many districts chose this fall. So they just are wrapping up all of that. They'll have to go through some data approvals and cleansing and things like that before they release all of the academic data for the state. So that's why some of it down below says NA. So some things to highlight. The enrollment is still in a decline. Our low-income population remains in the 40% range since 2006. Limited English proficiency has been above 2% now for several years. 2.5% last year and then 2.5% the year before. We are still looking for that second English as a second language teacher. We have one right now, but we're still trying to find a second English as a second language teacher. We do have a need for that. The mobility rate is at 12%, possibly because of COVID. It's hard to tell what kind of impact COVID has had. And then as far as our teaching staff goes, 57% have a bachelor's degree, 43% have a master's degree. And so we're almost, at a 50-50 range there. Our 3-year teacher retention is at 86%. And then our operating expenditure per pupil is well below the state average. It's at $10,648 per pupil. And that dollar amount is from fiscal year 20, so from 2 years ago, because that's how the financial records flow. You'll see the graduation rate. They do a 4-year, a 5-year, and a 6-year graduation rate. What I always like to point out is over time, we don't just give up on students if they don't graduate in 4 years. We continue, and you'll see that rate increase. From 84% to 86% to 87%. So some students don't
fit the mold of 4 years. Some, it takes a few years longer, and we try to continue to invest in them, even though it doesn't take them that 4 years. The dropout rate is 4.9%. Currently, some things we're looking at with the Infinite Campus switch, just so you understand how Infinite Campus even ties into any of this. Our data from Infinite Campus gets pushed to the state level, and so that helps identify limited English proficiency numbers, it helps identify low-income numbers, it helps identify a whole range of things. And so what we're going to be looking into is with Infinite Campus, just the accuracy of our data. I think that product is going to help us better identify, because what we have is we have students who are not full-time students at EHS taking classes. We also have students leaving it, going to an alternative school. And so we've got to dig down into how are those students actually being identified in Infinite Campus before that data goes to the state, just to make sure that our records are accurate. Because when we look at the data that we have versus this data, sometimes there's discrepancies. So we're going to use the opportunity with Infinite Campus to try to clean some of that up. The attendance rate, 94%. And then chronic absenteeism is well below the state average at 4%. Chronically truant, 20%. And then our pupil-teacher ratio is 18 students to 1. And that's just straight students and certified staff. So on any given day, you're not going to walk in and see exactly 18 students in a classroom. That's for the whole district, certified staff to student ratio. Class size average, again, that's just an average across the district, is 21 students. You'll find some classrooms are going to have more, and you'll find some classrooms that will have less, but 21 is the average. When we did give the state assessments back in the spring, 97% of our students tested, as compared to the state of 71%. Now, some of that is COVID impact, because some of them, weren't able to have their students, for whatever reason, come in, or, some of those numbers, I think, are possibly not reflected because they were still in the midst of the fall testing window for those who opted to go for the fall. But to have 97% of our student body take the state assessment, just show up last year, is really a big deal to me. Regardless of what the academic data even comes out of it, they showed up to take the test, and that's a big deal considering everything that we've gone through. And then down below, you'll see 8th grade Algebra 1. So we collect the data for the state in one way, and then we also track it in our own way. So the state looks at it as your entire 8th grade class. How many of the students out of the 8th grade class took Algebra 1 in 8th grade? So across the state, the average is 28.8. 23.8% of our 8th graders took Algebra 1 last year. But what I like to highlight also is that 100% of them completed it successfully, so they don't have to retake it when they get to high school. They will go into geometry and those upper tracks of math whenever they get into their junior and senior years. And then the 9th grade on track, that's 68.3%. That is definitely impacted due to COVID. Just the difficulty of trying to have students show up every day to complete work. That type of a thing definitely impacted some of our students' ability to be on track. So I know that they're working on that right now to try to figure out ways to kind of help those not on track get back on through after-school program, through summer school program, through APEX, credit recovery, several different measures and steps taken. On the next page, sure.
On that first page there, where it talks about the graduation rates and so forth, how many credits do we require at Effingham right now, Effingham High School? 24.
Okay, on the next page then is just what I took off of the our district dashboard. And so I'll highlight a few of the things from there. This is available on our website as well. So we already have discussed the graduation rate. So we offer a lot of dual credit opportunities, and we track the amount of money that parents and students save by having their students take dual credit courses. And this year it was $289,635. We also track the percent of students coming into kindergarten who have had some type of preschool experience, and this year it was 77%. That's a little lower than what we've seen in the past. And again, there's potential for COVID having an impact on that data as well. People were not as willing to send their children to preschool last year because of that. We track kindergarten math and kindergarten reading. So at the end of the year, how were those students doing? 89% had mastered the kindergarten math skills, and 81% had mastered kindergarten reading skills. We look at typically 80% being, that we're in good shape, and anything above 80% is something that's really good. And I already explained to you about the Algebra 1 8th grade completion. Our district-wide English honors or enriched program, we run enriched 6th, 7th, and 8th grade English, and then we also have English 1 honors, English 2 honors, and English 3 honors. And so we look at successful completion of that, and 99% of the students who took those courses in the enriched or honors track were completed it successfully. And again, definitely COVID had an impact on that 1%. And then we track the number of workplace learning experiences, which could be job shadowing, it could be some type of a small internship or something like that. That is down, and again, that was again due to COVID, but 75 last year. On the next page is you'll see the attendance rate. 100% of our students did complete their community service hours. Those were decreased last year because of COVID, but even with the decrease, the students completed those hours. We have a mentor program. Some of you may not be aware of the mentor program that we have for new teachers. So our mentors are part of our certified staff, and they go through a mentor training. And currently we have 18 active mentor new teacher matches. We typically keep the new teacher, especially those without coming into us without any experience, we keep them in that program for at least 2 years. 842 students in grades 6 through 12 participated in co-curricular activities. This is clubs, athletics, student council, and they could be duplicate students. So a student who participated in basketball, track, and student council, and then was in like a spring production or something like that, they would be counted 4 times, even though they were the same student. And then I know you're well aware of our student mentoring program. We currently have 130 active mentor student matches in the district, and it's good to have that program running. And then as far as our active and trained volunteers, we have 1,485 people who are trained, and we have lots of feet on the ground again, thankfully. Last year was a little rough getting through that. Operational integrity, so this is going to be more about the finances of the district, and I'll have to lean on Mr. Down if you've got questions about some of this. But our financial recognition status is 3.9. The school property tax rate comparison, we are still the lowest school tax rate in both Effingham County and in our ROE. Our ROE spans 5 counties. So our rate is 3.53896. And then our local property tax revenue is 66.2%. The long-term debt margin remaining is 68.37%. And then our financial adequacy funding is at 83%. So that's your.
On that financial recognition, that
Sure.
3.9, do we know, is that on a 4?
At a
or
4.
5? On a 4 scale?
Chad, that's not a 4 because we bonded for the health life safety bonds.
And that's why it was 3.9.
Okay. And then on that first page where it had the graduation rates and the dropout rates,
Yes.
do we have any kind of a trend report? Is that 84.3, is that trending up, trending down?
I would have to look back at the data. I
Yeah.
think it's been at 87 to 90.
So, and then the dropout rate, is that also increasing or is it?
I think that's a slight increase. That's why I said we really need to look at our data to make sure that now with this new system that students are getting identified correctly. So when the state does we don't do these calculations, the state does based on all the data that comes out of our system and gets put into theirs. So that's why we need to just make sure, I mean, if that's our rate, then that's fine. But I think that there may be some students who might be coming in from non-public schools that are getting counted possibly in those numbers. So we just have to code them correctly.
The reason I'm asking the questions on the graduation rate and the dropout rates is I know that at one time when I was working with some apprenticeship programs, we were looking at graduation credits to see if there was enough room for students that were interested in maybe a trades type of career if they had enough time to do that and still hit their graduation credits. And at that time, I was pulling up the information from back in 2018. Effingham we were at 23 credits. So somewhere we've moved up to 24 and the state average at that time was 16.75. So has the graduation rate dropped since we went to 24 or has that helped?
I can't answer that question without looking back at those specific years.
I mean, I think the 24, I mean, and again, I apologize.
Well, the 23 to 24, some of that is state mandated in regards to whether it's 4 years of English, 3 years of science or that. So the district has not itself raised the graduation rate in a number of years. If it has, it's because of a requirement. Now, obviously, if students don't pass a class, they fall behind. And we had a lot of that through COVID. So that, I don't know where we're going to be in a couple of years because those kids will be seniors then. But that's why we're offering after school programs and summer school and credit recovery. So, yeah, I don't know, 16 and a half credits. I'd have to look back and question how they get all the mandated.
Sure. No, I wouldn't
it just, that seemed low to me.
I just wouldn't want to see us going any higher really than the 24 based on where we compared back then. It'd be interesting to see where everybody ranks now, but
yeah,
they're all questions. I'd be interested to see what the
Right.
trend was before.
It'd be interesting to see what
Okay.
the high school requirements are too, and how we count those. I mean, do we count PE credits as a whole credit every year? I mean, that in
Right.
itself, I don't know if every school counts that as a whole credit. You may count it as a quarter credit or something. I don't know if that would be a variance, but I
This
can't
is good
imagine.
information. I appreciate you sharing.
So along with that report card, the report card data is just the school improvement planning process. And so our schools engage in that kind of continuous cycle of improvement. A lot of that now is through the MTSS process, which is a multi-tiered system of support. And so a couple years ago, the state came out with what's called summative designations. And due to the summative designations, the junior high fell in the category where they're mandated to have a school improvement plan. And so they've been doing that, kind of been in a holding pattern because of COVID. And so they're continuing in that process. They work with Illinois MTSS on their school improvement planning. Some of the things that are in their plan is just fostering a sustained improvement cycle, looking at their data, having routines of looking at their data, looking at instructional quality through their data, looking at student needs through their data, trying to look at how to reinvest in their staff. So not just having Illinois MTSS come and do the data analysis for them, but teaching the staff to do their own data analysis. And then having those sustained school improvement processes, just having that in place over time, not just 1 year, but over time. So that's the nutshell of the plan.
Shelley, could you explain for everyone what that underperforming status, how that's determined? I've had people ask me, I don't think a lot of people understand how the subgroup impacts that and so on.
Right, so since the No Child Left Behind, which you probably have heard of that, that was when school districts started to then have their academic data, the state tests, kind of have additional sanctions fall on them. And so since that time, it's a federal regulation that you don't just look at how all students perform, but then you have to look at also all of your subgroups. Your subgroups could be based on race and ethnicity. It could be based on income level. It could be based on ability or disability. And so since No Child Left Behind, the academic data that comes out of the state testing gets scrutinized through not just all students, but then subgroups of students as well. And so when they reauthorized No Child Left Behind, with that reauthorization came again kind of a renewal of summative they call it now summative designation. And so they have 4 different layers. The underperforming is not the lowest, but it's the second one up. Commendable will be the next one. And so what they do is they look at a comparison of, which is not what they used to do, but now they look at it's a comparison of how all of the other districts in the state performed. And then they compare the schools against that. And so if you fall below a certain threshold, and it was like 32 point something, I think, this has been a few years ago, whenever that occurred, when you fall below that threshold, but above the lowest performing, kind of in that gap there before you get to commendable, that's how you get into underperforming. And so they again, it's not just all students, but it's with all the different subgroups of students. And so with this particular designation, it is with children with disabilities.
Right. So if you have one subgroup,
You have
that
one
doesn't-
subgroup,
one
yeah.
subgroup that doesn't meet
Right.
all students,
Right.
then you could be underperforming.
Right.
It's not that all the students were
Right,
underperforming.
it is not
Right.
no, it is not the entire
Right.
student body. It's through that, and it's to try to make sure that you have measures in place that will, actions and measures in place that will try to meet the needs of all students and not just most students. So that's why the school improvement plan is required, and why it's been good to have Illinois MTSS involved.
Anyone have any questions for Shelley? Lots of good information. Thank you.
Still no pies.
I will entertain a motion in a second to accept the 2021 Illinois Report Card Data and School Improvement Plan.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Chad. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Steve. Roll call.
Jill,
Yes.
Jane, yes. Chad,
Yes.
Desha,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
Robin,
Yes.
Brett.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Shelley. Okay, have a testing update?
Yeah, we have an update. We started Shield today, and Zebra Health is a group that's hired by Shield, and some of their people didn't show up today. So,
Welcome to my world.
yeah. So I think when I talked to him this afternoon, he's staying all night. They got tomorrow. Will be so I think between 90 and 100 were tested, and we have about 170. So the issue with the Shield test is there are parameters, right? You can't test until an hour after you eat. You can't have candy. There's more parameters to it. So, and then you try to get 6 and 7 year olds to spit into a cup or to a funnel is not always so. But they've assured us that they've done this in other buildings and districts, and it gets smoother. So it'll get smoother. So that started today, and we'll go tomorrow, and then we'll continue each week. So we'll I don't know where his staff was today, but hopefully they'll be there tomorrow. If not, our people stepped up, which they always do, and we work through it. The Buy Next Now symptomatic testing program, we're looking to start on Monday with information going out tomorrow. Now that's the Buy Next Now symptomatic is so if a student comes down with a symptom, they will be able to, their parent will be able to go onto a website and get an appointment. We're going to do that Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 8 to 9. And so we're going to do that at the junior high where they can pull in and stay in their car, come out, test them. What's key to this is we're trying to make sure that kids, because right now, if a student is sent home with symptoms, they either have to have a negative test or they're out 10 days. And so this is what we were going to start at the beginning of the year, but then we had to pivot and do staff testing. And so once we get Shield up, which was this week, we're going to start with symptomatic next week on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So we do it on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday so we can, nobody really has to go. They don't have to use it. It's strictly voluntary. But if a parent wants to have their child tested, it's no cost. And if you go home on a Monday evening, it'll be Wednesday morning, or you can go get a test somewhere. We just can't do it every day. So the goal is, like I said, trying to make sure kids aren't out for a long period of time. So that will, like I said, we're going to start that on Monday, and tomorrow we'll send that information out. And really, as they send students home with a symptom, we'll give them that information as well and help them through. It's pretty simple to go on and get an appointment. And so they've gotten pretty good at doing those Buy Next Now tests.
And so if the student gets tested then between 8 and 9 and it's negative,
They go back
then
to
they can
class.
just report to class.
And the other difference is in the past, if I had a symptom and I had 2 brothers and a sister in the district, then they also had to leave. But if they get tested within 24 hours, they don't have to leave. They don't have to miss school. So, that's the key, is to get tested within 24 hours. But even if it's after 24 hours, they're negative, everybody comes back. So, could somebody miss a day? Yes.
But not 10.
But not 10. And they could, like I said, they don't have to, but I know that testing is getting harder to find. And also sometimes there's a cost in some places. So we're trying to alleviate that for parents. Okay.
Okay, next we have substitute pay.
Mr. Fox, you want to step up and kind of go through that? Just as he's stepping up there, one of the things that we talked about back in 2018, we thought we were ahead of the curve, and we addressed all of our substitute pay and had I think through 2027, wasn't it? I think we had it all planned out. Substitutes would be, up because of minimum wage. But then we had this little thing called COVID and people just leaving jobs and getting harder to find subs. So I'll let Mr. Fox kind of go forward. He and I talked about this. We checked some other districts, seeing what they were doing. And so every part of our areas, you talk about certified subs, you talk about cooks, subs, you talk about bus drivers, or just finding employees, and also substitutes are even harder. So this is a proposal to try to address some of that.
Sure. So like Mr. Dillon said, we were trying to be proactive. We actually implemented an entire spreadsheet for multiple years so we would be ahead of that. What we found is we're not ahead of it. Unfortunately, we need to up our substitute pay in order to get people to come in here and help us out. So you have in your packet a spreadsheet. Inside that spreadsheet, it has our current hourly rate of pay, or for certified teaching positions, the daily rate. And then what we've proposed for the next 4 years. Since we are in a 4-year contract, we are basically for our support staff positions, looking to base that at the starting step one rate each year of that contract. So as the step one rate increases each year of the 4-year contract, the sub rate would increase to that step one as well. And then for the teaching rate of pay, we would move that from 105 per day now to 130 for the remainder of this year and next year, and then the 135 per day for the last 2 years of that contract. So that would be our recommendation, to see if we can bring in more qualified people to help us when our people are out. Are there any questions, thoughts that I can?
Do we know how that compares in the area?
Yeah, this is higher than the other schools in the area as far as sub rate. Right now, our contract rate's higher, and so this puts us up there where hopefully we can bring in more qualified people. So we do have Effingham residents going to other communities to sub, and so we would like to keep them here and working in our district as much as we can.
I've seen that some schools, not necessarily in our area, but other schools have advertised, they, thinking outside the box, trying to get people here to sub, and part of it is increased wages. But some of them too are doing some creative things, like having a substitute job fair, where they actually would use say the high school cafetorium, and they would have a day, a Saturday or an evening, where anybody could come and actually complete the application for substitute work, whether it be a teacher and then maybe somebody from transportation, somebody from maintenance, where they could come in and actually talk to those people and complete an application right there and kind of one spot. I thought that was kind of a good idea when I saw that.
Mr. Doe and I have talked about in our community, anybody who has a position where they have daytimes, it's 1 day a week off, something like that. If they have a bachelor's degree or an associate's degree, they can get a sub license. The biggest issue we have with COVID is people. And that would be the one thing that causes us the biggest headache every day. I mean, 6 a.m. every morning, we are trying to find substitute teachers, substitute cooks, substitute custodians, anybody to help us keep the buildings running the way they should. So anybody who has that ability and has a free day in the week that can, would go get that certification, we could use them. I know surrounding districts around us asked, if you're a firefighter or a nurse and you have a day or two off during the week, go get that certification and we can use you to keep our building where we need to be for kids. So we've talked about that quite a bit.
Other districts, we talk about the substitute teacher pay. When we were much higher than other districts. Then over the years, they've crept up and are pretty in line or pretty close to us. So one of the things I think I shared is one part of this is we want to, because some people are going to sub only in the districts that they want to sub. Doesn't matter what you pay them. But what we're trying to do is broaden and grow the pool. And so $130 a day is not bad.
Okay. Anything else on this? Any questions for Mr. Fox or Mr. Donadon? Okay, then I would entertain a motion and a second to approve the substitute pay proposal to be effective January 3rd, 2021.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Chad. Is there a second? Second by,
Real quick. Put in there effective January. Is that when we want to do it? Or I didn't know what the process was in regards to updating all the pays and all that. I know we can't start tomorrow, but I didn't know I should have asked that before we got the motion.
From the business perspective, we could do it starting at the first of a month, whether you want to do it December 1st, January 1st, however you want to do it. For us, it's just getting it in line with the payroll so that we finish out a payroll and we can go that way.
so do we
The
want
sooner
to?
the better, I would say.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if there's not, that motion can die if there's not a second. So hearing no second, I'll entertain a motion and a second to approve the substitute pay proposal to be effective December 1st, 2021.
I'll make a motion on that.
Motion by Chad, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Jill, roll call.
Jane, yes. Chad?
Yes.
Desha?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Robin?
Yes.
Brad?
I abstain on this one since Jamie's a sub in the district.
Motion carries.
You don't want to get a raise?
No.
Well,
Oh, no, that's on video, isn't it?
Because 2021 would have been last year.
Yeah.
Retroactive.
Yeah, retroactive.
All right, next, we have the school calendar, 21-22 school calendar.
Yeah, one of the, talked about this before, been working with the Labor Management Committee just about the stress and the time and the, some of the things that our staff and our students are facing and our parents, but mainly our staff in regards to time. And so, you know, we've talked about that. We had our principals talk to the staff about it. We've talked about it and some feedback that we received. So I looked into the calendar about potential either early outs or SIP days. And I gave you a calendar with some options. So just kind of going through that, you know, I think, you know, there's a mental well-being question just to both students and staff. And if you've read anything, just the stress of continual change and just the changes that have occurred in education and in schools in the last 24 months. So we've had a lot of discussions about that, and it's not like you can just make up time on a calendar or time on the clock. And so one of the things that the feedback I got, you know, to bring some information to the board was bringing those options to you in regards to whether it's an early release at 2 o'clock or was it an SIP at 12 o'clock. And so I gave you some options there. Then also there was a discussion or an idea brought forward about, you know, right now we are early release on Wednesday, 23rd, which is next Wednesday. And so the idea brought forth was whether to have that day off. And in our issue in Illinois, we would have to make that day up. So it's not like last year we had remote learning planning days where we didn't have to make those days up, but we don't have those this year. So it would have to be made up in May. And I shared some information and feedback from the staff with you on that. So, you know, there's an option of having an early release on Tuesday, the 23rd, not having school on the 24th. So students and staff more so and can spend some more family time, relax, get away. It's really kind of, like I said, a mental well-being situation. So I guess I'm open. I've given a couple options there to the board. By all means, those aren't the only options, but I kind of carried that out through the end of the year, adding a couple SIP days later in the year or early releases. I did check today. Those days that I've shared with you can also be school improvement days, which are released at noon. Just to understand that, you know, this is an impact on a lot of people as well. And just so everybody understands, you know, that's taken into account in regards to families and parents too. So I present this to you just as a discussion item and possible action item. So I've kind of thrown a lot at you in regards to the packet and options. So I guess it's
So
open
maybe
for
we can talk about them one at a time.
Sure.
Okay, maybe we could talk first about the most pressing one on the calendar would be the day before Thanksgiving, which would be, we are looking at November 24th. Wednesday, the 24th was the day we talked about not having school that day and having an early dismissal on the 23rd. And that's the day that Mr. Doan is making reference to. That, I mean, we do have snow days built into the calendar in May, but we would have to make that up like it were a snow day, or, we would have to make up that day in May if we took it. So I don't know what your thoughts are about that. The feedback from the staff, the teachers, was really evenly split, almost right down the middle.
Did that survey, when you reported, did that survey go to everyone or just teachers? Did it?
To staff.
It went to everyone, okay.
Now, some use their email more than others, but we made sure that everyone was aware.
But we had how many responses?
260 to 70,
Out of
380.
80.
And it was, what were the?
50.9 to 49.
Right down the middle. It was 50-50 pretty much. Yeah.
And we haven't gotten any messages, written emails to the board regarding.
I looked today, there weren't any. So,
My first inclination was to grant this sort of day just as a reprieve, a family day, a mental health day. There's just so much stuff that goes around on social media, and I think this kind of festered into that, but not realizing that the state would say, yes, you can do it, but you're going to make it up at the end of the year. And then what if we have 4 or 5 snow days, then, we're extended out 4 to 5 more days at the end of the school year. So what's better?
yeah, one of the things too, though, to note, if you look at the calendar, that the first snow day makeup day is scheduled for the 23rd. So that's pretty early in May too. I mean, the whole week before Memorial Day is that week where the snow days would be made up if they had to still be out, you know what I'm saying? It'd be out by Memorial Day, even if we had to make up all those.
No, the way that works is we have 5 days built in. If we use all 5, school will be no later right now than June 1st, Teachers Institute. Every day that we don't use it, it just backs up.
The kids would be out the 27th.
Yeah, so if we use the 23rd, we'd have an XHS on the 24th and a Teachers Institute on the 25th. That's if we don't have any more emergency days. And we've had emergency days every year.
Right.
It's rare that we don't have one. It's happened.
Right.
We've also had 10.
Right.
But once we hit 5, we don't make any more up.
I think it would be an easier decision if obviously it had, the numbers had weighed heavier on one side than the other. But as I look at those numbers too, though, in my mind, I think half, that's a lot of our people. Too, if there were really that many people that, because I'm like Jill, I was looking at this as a day to kind of ease some stress. And it's been very difficult, not just for teachers, but for all staff and administrators and students and families, for everybody. And so kind of looking at it as a time, where maybe the holiday would seem a little bit longer, a little bit more relief and escape from the grind, so that maybe come back a little more refreshed at the end. That was my thought. So I even at half and half, I'm still kind of leaning that way, thinking that half is a significant number of our people who are saying, yeah, I would like that. So I don't know. Like I said, it's not as clear
And the other half
cut.
wanted out at 12?
Pardon me?
The other half wanted out at,
No, it was either or. Did
No,
you
the-
support taking the 24th off if May 23rd would be the makeup? So it was 50.8 or 9 that said yes, support that, and 49% said no. They didn't want to switch the days. It's basically what you're doing.
but we could do off at noon on Wednesday.
No, okay, what they're talking about was those off at noon on Wednesdays were days later in the year. We're going to talk about that in just a minute. There was an early dismissal. There would be an early dismissal that day at like 2. That's the way the schedule is right now. So if we backed it up a day, there would be an early dismissal on Tuesday at 2 instead of on Wednesday. That's just the day that we're looking at right now. The other days we're going to talk about separately because they're a little bit different. So this is really just about the 23rd of November. Anyone else have
With it
thoughts?
being so late, and that is next week, parents of younger children may have quite an issue with making sure that day is covered for their childcare if they have to work on Wednesday. So that could potentially be a hardship by not having as much notice. And then if we go the early release route, the earliest day would be when?
Well, right now, he's proposed one for the 18th, which is this week.
Yeah, that was Friday.
Which is probably too early.
Right.
So I would say that one would be scratched. But then the next one is December 18th.
17th.
Oh,
Did I mark?
mine says, am I looking at the wrong thing? December 18th. Is that what it says?
Yeah.
17th.
No, she's right. December 18th is a Friday.
Right.
Oh.
Again, I should put my glasses.
It's funny
December
because
17th.
Sunday's on the
Oh,
right. That's what's,
were you at March or?
yeah, the way the calendars are, Sunday is on the right. That's what's messing you up. So Friday, the 18th of December is the first of these days. And then,
I still show the 17th.
Yeah.
Friday the 17th.
oh, I'm sorry, I'm in March. Duh.
You're right on March.
Right, yeah.
You're right
Hey.
on March.
Okay, I jumped right to March, yeah, I'm sorry. Friday, the 17th, yes. Okay, so that, I've got that, all right. So the month is under the month. Okay, so that means then the next one is in February, correct? February 4th, which is Friday, and then February,
March.
okay, the 18th I have marked, but that's not it. And then March 18th, right. So again, December 17th, February 4th, and March 18th. So the decision there would be early out, which is 2, or,
SIP at noon.
yeah, a school improvement day, which would be noon.
And if we didn't use that day this week, we could probably squeeze one in that last week in January, maybe, or, to put a day in January,
Well,
second week in January.
yeah, the reason I guess the reason I didn't do that is we have Institute on the 14th. We have a 4-day holiday which breaks that month up. So I didn't put one in that because the 4th is the first week of February, so.
What are we thinking? Two o'clock dismissal, noon dismissal.
Well, if we're giving time for teachers to either, one, be in their classroom and help other students, I don't feel like an hour does much. 2 to 3, what does that do for them? Does that give them? So I would lean more towards the noon. It's still a day, it's still a work day for our staff, but it's without kids, so they get caught up. So what's better? Giving everyone a whole day off? Or just giving the kids a half a day off and our staff time to work? On 4 occasions. That's the question of the day.
Yeah, I mean, usually kids leave at 2 and then, they're not out at 2. Right, so. The work days either 3:30, 3:45, or 4, depends what building you're in.
What's more valuable to our people? Right now?
I think it goes back to what Robin was saying before, is that we had the best of intentions when we started asking the questions, but the more we've learned, the more I just don't know that it's really a clear win or positive for us to make any change right now, unless we had more information to know what they would prefer.
Well, if we don't plan to do anything on December 17th, that's the only one that would, or I'm sorry, because we've already ruled out the 19th. So that would be the next one that is on the calendar right now that he's got marked, right?
Yeah.
December 17th. So if that month is kind of short anyway. We've got 4 days the week before, 3 days that week after because of the Christmas vacation. So maybe, I don't know,
I mean,
maybe.
it seems like it would be helpful to have the kids leave at noon and have time to get stuff, just kind of regroup so you can get caught up. Unless someone is telling us that it's not helpful. I mean, has there been any feedback that that's not helpful?
I mean, this was brought forward by, questions from board members to come up with options. So, and we talked in labor management about, we couldn't come up, we came up with 3 options, the labor management group did. It's just hard to come up with time.
So what kind of feedback did you get from those meetings?
Well, as I shared earlier, it was either pay that, one option was to pay them for extra time during the week, 1 to 2 units of pay if they had remote students. The other one was an early release at 2:00 every day, which we mentioned that. And those were really the 2. We looked at whether we could release different schools at 2:30, to help with more of the issue at high school kids and junior high kids. That was brought up by the group. But there weren't really any good options. We didn't, it did not come out of our labor management discussions about early releases or SIPs. That's something that came after. So,
We're basically talking about 3 days, right?
Right.
3 days, I mean.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
Yes, it is.
Basically
3 days
talking
now at
about
this
3
point.
days.
Right, and do we feel like that would be appreciated by the teachers? I would think it would be.
I would think
I
so.
would think so.
And I would think noon rather than 2.
Yeah, I agree.
So there would, we could propose the one in December, the one in February, and the one in March.
Okay.
Is that what we're talking about? I mean, we.
And so it's not continuing ed or workshop or departmental meetings, or it is for our teachers to get into their classrooms and get caught up and things done. Is that am I assuming that would be the plan?
And their workday is until the end of the day, but they're allowed to do what they need to do to get
In the
caught up on
afternoon.
whatever.
Right. Is that what we're, okay? Okay, so we could say,
Well, that doesn't need to be in the motion.
make a motion
All
and
I
a
need is a motion to adjust the calendar to add SIP days on December 17th, Friday, December 17th, Friday, February 4th, and Friday, March 18th.
Anyone want to make that motion? Okay, Desha made the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Steve. Roll call.
Chad,
Yes.
Desha,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
Robin,
Yes,
Brad,
Yes.
Jill,
Yes.
Jane, yes, I guess.
we didn't,
Didn't have,
there was no motion for that.
okay.
So, yes, I'm assuming we did not have a motion about no school on the Wednesday before Thanksgiving, so I'm assuming that.
I think it's too late to do that. We need
Yeah.
to give our
Just want to
families
clarify.
notice to do that.
Okay, moving on. Turf project.
Okay, so just to update the board, last month, the board directed to move forward and see about some fundraising. I did share information with you in regards to a meeting was held with the sports backers, and in fact, I had a meeting this afternoon at 4:00 with some individuals. I do not have numbers for the board, but I will say that in the 19 days since we've met, because this is a week earlier than we usually meet, there's been a lot of discussion and a lot of movement in regards to positive feedback on raising funds. The sports backers are kind of leading that with individuals. I don't have specifics, but one of the things that I keep getting asked is how much money needs to be raised. I've said from day one, it'd always be nice to get 1.4 million. However, I've also said that, if it was again, this is me, if it was a 50-50 split, I think that would be something, but I have no idea if the board would support that. So a lot of things have come up in regards to how do you recognize people that give money. And so still trying to work through that. So there would probably be something along those lines. I think I have been somewhat surprised about the enthusiasm in this short amount of time for the project for people who have been talked to. Now, again, I have not talked to a lot of those individuals. This is information that I have received. So I don't try to answer questions. Some things I think I shared with you in regards to just some of that meeting was whether those funds could be raised now before December 20th, in less than 60 days. All of that. I don't know that can occur. Maybe it can. But one of the questions that I asked was, would we take over 2 or 3 years? Would you take money? I said, I don't know. But that's something that this board needs to discuss and have some parameters. I do think, and I shared with sports backers, that it needs to run through sports backers as they're a 501c3 organization, rather than just getting individual donations from individuals. So I think that's one of the parameters that I would ask. But as we've shared, and I've shared information with the board as well, just on the project, seems to be a positive response. And that's, I guess, what I can tell you at this time. Obviously, we have to have more than a positive response, I think, for the board to make a decision. I certainly understand that. And so we've had those conversations with individuals and sports backers about we can't just go on positive responses. So we're still in line. I did talk with Vernon Jones, rep. The deadline of December that we talked about last month is basically in line in regards to be able to do it this summer. So I cleared that with him, double checked with him that yes, if that decision is made by that time, that we could get on the docket and be one of the groups to move forward. So,
And are we locked in for that cost, that proposal?
yes.
Because I know it will go up if it's after that date.
Yes, I mean, when we had those discussions about getting this information, these are the numbers that they gave us. When I talked to him, I said, I just want to make sure that are we still okay in December? I want to hear yes or no, that if the board says yes, and this is a go, and these are the costs. That's all I can say at this point. After that, I don't know. I would assume that there'd be an increase. There is every year. There's a lot of positives. I'm sure there's some negatives. But I think, try to, and I have some information I'll hand out to you at the end of the meeting here so you can look through on your own time instead of reading through as we're trying to talk. It's just some background info.
Anyone? Questions for Mark or comments?
I'll say I've been in a few of the meetings and it is moving in a very positive direction from leaders of our community. It's very good meetings.
Do we have any sort of estimate of funding?
I would like some more firm
I mean-
commitments, I guess.
Oh, yeah.
Me too. Yes, by the next
Not
meeting,
yet.
if that's when we're supposed to make a
Oh,
decision.
yeah,
the 20th, so.
And I'm sure that part of that is, I mean, ultimately, it's going to boil down to, we would have to make a commitment of how much we would be willing to donate
Right.
to. Mark has suggested half. That doesn't necessarily mean that number is
Sure.
in
Yeah.
stone, but, they're going to want to know, they're going to need to know that to know how much money has to be raised. And if we're saying we would need a firm commitment of funds, then obviously they have to know how much they need. So, I think that's something we need to consider. A couple things, and I'm sure you have some thoughts too. A couple things that bother me too, and Mark and I have had a couple conversations about this. One is, I do understand that the price would go up, but I kind of feel like this December deadline, we kind of we're being pushed very quickly towards a huge financial commitment, and it's still just very, I don't know, unformed. It's like, how much is going to be raised? There was a suggestion that maybe we would fund it and they would still raise funds and then we would get paid back, which to me, I'm not a finance major, but to me, that sounds like hocus pocus. To me, the funds have to be raised in advance and whatever we're not willing to pay. Otherwise, to me, for me, that would be a deal breaker. For us to put money out and pay, expecting to get paid back in the future. So I feel like we have to have specific commitments for specific amounts, and it would have to reach whatever amount we
Yeah, I mean,
would need to have. Otherwise, I don't think it's a go. And part of the problem is the timeline.
it seems
It's
more
it's so fast. I don't know if they'll have time to, even with the positive feedback and for the community. That's just a quick turnaround when you're asking people for that much money. So I don't know.
But if we have the commitments and we have a dollar figure in those commitments, then I think it's worth considering and voting on in December.
Right, if we have commitment for the amount of money that we say we need, yes. But I'm just saying, I mean, it was suggested in some of the material we got that we might have to pay for it, and then they would continue to raise money to try to come up with as much as they could, are you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, and to me, that for me personally is a
But there's a
no-go.
difference between continuing to raise money or having a signed agreement, that has a signed
Right,
agreement
right.
that commits to a certain amount of.
Right, and that's not
dollars each year.
what I meant was, them to say, well, we've got, let's say we've got, I don't know what the cost is now, 1.5, is that the cost, 1.4? And they say, okay, well, we've got $500,000 right now, and we think we can raise another $500,000, but we don't have it yet, but we need to think we can in the next year or two. Now, to me, no, we're not gonna pay $1 million on the hopes that they can raise more money. You see, that's what I mean when I say.
I understand that. But what you're saying, Chad, is you'll have a commitment letter that'll say, I'll give X amount years,
Well,
one,
you have a
two, three.
contract, yeah. You have a
Yeah.
contract and
That's
a
a-
commitment.
That's far
$200
different
per
than,
year.
I agree with Robin, if it's just a wish, then no, that's
No.
different. But if it's a commitment per year, that's also something I
And
think
we
we
have,
can
you know,
consider.
obviously, there's gonna have to be advertising associated with that. I would assume. I mean,
Yeah.
They're gonna want their name on the scoreboard or something.
I mean, it does seem like it's fast, but if we can pull the information together by December 20th.
Well,
You
and
know,
I
I
think
think we
that the
entertained it
sports
now,
backers are really the key here,
Mhm.
right? I mean, they're the ones that are
Yeah, and they're doing the young,
central to
I'll
this.
just tell you,
They're
you
doing
know,
the fundraisers, so, I mean, they're the ones when we talk, I mean, I would hope that they would be coming here in December and making that commitment, that we can hear, they are verbally making that commitment, saying this is what we have. So that we're not getting the second and third hand, I mean, so we
yeah,
know that
and I've
they're,
had that conversation, in fact, had that conversation today about, the board's gonna need, and the district's gonna need numbers,
Right.
because you can't make a decision without that information. So I firmly believe that those numbers will be, I guess the question is, what's that
what
number?
is the number, right?
And because it does help them and us, whoever's raising money, in regards to what they're shooting for. And, so I think that if the board could give some direction along those lines, I think it would help. Because I don't want anybody, the last thing I think that anybody wants is, well, that wasn't the amount of money,
Right.
but
That
you never
wasn't
told
the
us what the
rate.
amount of money was. So, just being upfront with everybody, saying if this is the amount, then this is the amount. But that's just
Last month,
an
Jill
idea.
asked for some information too about the safety of
Mhm.
artificial turf as far as injuries and so on.
Well,
Did we get
yeah,
any of
I'm
that?
going to post some of that tomorrow to Board Book so you can look. It doesn't take much to go on there and look. You can, all you got to do is Google it and you can get thousands. So trying to go through, and I did get some with what they call meta-analysis, which is basically a study of studies, and you got different, you're going to have pros, you're going to have cons, right? And it depends on what level. So we've got some information that we'll post on Board Book so you can look through that at your own leisure. They're articles. Some of them are, how do I say this? More academic in nature with ends and probabilities and things like that, which are sometimes hard to go, but we'll have that information up probably tomorrow, if not the next day.
Do we know what the kids that are actually going to be playing on it think? Do they think it's a good idea, or
No, they're full force.
they are?
I'm sure.
And see, that's something else I would like to hear from, the
Because
football
I heard
coach and
some
the
of them
soccer,
like
coach, these people that we're saying really want to be on this turf.
So at the one meeting, we had feedback from Mount Zion, Taylorville, and Mater Dei, and it was all positive feedback. They did talk about the importance of the type of pad that you put underneath the field, and this proposal has the top of the line type of padding underneath that. I did have the opportunity to talk to the principal from Macomb over the weekend. I asked him, did Macomb have any kind of pushback? Because they really, to be honest, don't have a football tradition similar to ours, or soccer band, what have you. But he said that, they did have some concerns about the cost in the beginning, but once it was installed and they had those schedules maximized, that no one complains because of the ability to use it so much for a variety of sports activities, PE classes, and so on. But that was just, I haven't spoken to anyone. Again, that's just a few schools. I do know the football coach at Columbia. I could talk with him, but I have not received any negative feedback on that.
I was curious too about the scheduling. We talked, one of the major pros of the whole thing is the different groups that could use that. Football, soccer, band, we talked about those three groups several times. So as far as the scheduling goes, I actually kind of tried to find the soccer schedule. I didn't ever locate it, so I'm not sure where it is, but I probably wasn't looking in the right place. I was just curious if there were certain days of the week that they generally play. That's kind of what I was looking for. I mean, do they generally play on a Thursday? Or
So that's one of the documents that I'll hand out to you that has a sample 2022 schedule, practice and games for football and soccer, right? And band practice. And,
because
it's using this year's
Yeah.
schedule transposed to, and Mr. Woltman's talked with both soccer coach and the football coach about how it could be used, and they've had good discussions about being flexible and even sharing at the same time, because the problem is when it rains,
Is there a football practice? I don't even know about all the facilities out there. Is there
there's a
football-
practice field.
There is a football practice
Yeah,
field.
there is really no soccer. They're practicing in the outfield of one of second baseball field.
Okay,
And
so
so,
there is a football practice field?
yeah.
So why does the band still go then to the junior
So
high?
when the facility was built, it was actually built with two practice football fields and then had a game field, but then we added soccer. So we took one of those practice fields, turned it into the soccer
Oh,
game
but
field.
there's no lights on it.
Yeah, there's no
Soccer
lights.
now practices in what was going to be the junior high baseball field. They practice in that outfield so they can save their game field. Football has one practice field for 3 teams, and then they play on the big game field. The reason the band still practices at the junior high is they practice at night.
At no lights.
Normally from 6:30 to 8:30 or 6:30 to 9. And so they have to have lights. And we kept them off the game field because they march in the same spots, obviously, because that's the routine, which kills the grass.
Have we ever investigated the cost of lighting that practice field?
Football practice field? I don't think we've ever even looked at that.
I mean, I'm just curious what it would cost to do something like that. I mean, that, because well, the bottom line is what band practices Tuesdays and Thursdays at night, right?
Tuesdays, I know for sure. I don't.
It's Tuesday, Thursday.
It's Tuesday, Thursday, and Thursday night, there's probably a football game on the football field most times.
We've not had a freshman program on Thursday nights for about 4 years. This year we played 2 freshman games, one on the road and one at home. But other than that, we've not had a freshman program in 4 years. So we've not had a Thursday night game. Our games have been Fridays and Mondays. Now, we did look at lighting the baseball field at one point in time, and it was upwards of $250,000 to add those lights, which is why we don't have lights out there. So
Well, that sounds like a bargain compared to artificial turf.
Two nights a week though?
Yeah, that's just what I'm saying is, it was over $250,000 to light the baseball field. That's why our varsity baseball still plays at Paul Smith. Because that was not a good economical use of money at that point in time. So trying to think about the football field, it does take more poles, more lights, so you're probably going upwards of that even if you were to light the football. So just an estimate. And we looked at the light cost probably 8 years ago when I was high school principal, and that number came in. So I'm sure it's higher than that.
Caring for the turf on the football field, do we do that? Todd, is that your department or?
Right now, like the grass that we have?
Yes.
Yes.
So because mowing is outsourced for our buildings,
Not
but not on the football field.
Right.
And that's, do we have like a cost breakdown of what that costs to maintain the football field
I can
every?
get you one. Yeah, I can get you one this week.
I think
I mean,
that's.
I don't know it off the top of my head, but.
Sure, and the number of
we're
hours it
talking-
takes.
Right, I mean, I can break it down as far as hours and all that, because I have 2 guys out there, I'm gonna say 8-9 months out of the year, I mean, just ballpark it, probably November to September, in that area, probably about 8 months. But, yeah, because I mean, you're talking about multiple fertilizers, chemicals, that we buy as far as making it keep looking good even after it's been trunckled. Seed, you know, with the aerating and all that, the irrigation. I mean, if you want to start throwing that in there, because there's a lot of times we got to fix the irrigation on it, because I mean, things happen with that. The mowing, the fuel, the cost of the mowing, the cost of the paint to stripe it. I mean, the number would rise quickly, but yeah, I can get those numbers.
And we do water, right? You just said
Oh, yeah.
irrigation, so
We
we're
definitely
watering
water.
it.
That's why it looks as good as what it does.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot more to it than just mowing it and watering it and it's green.
Right.
They spend a lot of time on it. We actually have a set plan from one of our representatives where different applications go on it each week or bi-weekly, this and that, you know, so that's a pretty hefty bill as far as that goes too.
I understand that it would be a benefit to a lot of programs and it would be used a lot. I get that. It's just the price tag is so big. It's a scary price tag in total. Even half of it to me is a scary price tag.
I was gonna mention that.
Yeah, even half of it seems a lot. And when I think there are some other things that if we spent that money on, that would impact more kids in our district. And I think that, a lot of the people that I've heard feedback from aren't all that keen on our spending hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars on artificial turf. They think it's a good idea if we get a lot of private funding for it. That I think is kind of where I'm at. I know that we need to contribute something, but even half of it to me is a lot. I've been talking to Mr. Doan. I'm big on the libraries right now, and I said to him, I said, boy, think what $500,000 spread around our district to bring some of our school libraries up to even approach being state-of-the-art school libraries, which we don't have. That would be a wonderful thing that would impact our kids. To me, put it in that perspective, I mean, for us to say we'd spend that kind of a money on a project like that would, I think blow a lot of people's minds too. They would think, wow, really? You're going to spend that much money on it? So, and to me, that's something that would more positively impact a greater number of kids in a way that I think more taxpayers probably would approve of than artificial turf. I get the artificial turf though, obviously. I just don't know, I am not committed to $750,000 of our money going towards it. So.
I think one thing, when Todd gets the numbers for you, one thing to look at is, I'm gonna be surprised if we come in at 60,000 and not higher on what an annual cost is to maintain our field. When you take the life of the turf is a 12-year warranty. You take $60,000 times 12 years. You are at the number you're talking about the district paying up front for our 12 years of warranty on the field.
So it's not going to cost us anything to maintain the turf?
The turf, they actually provide all the equipment to us as in that cost of buying it. Right. So it'd just be our guys sweeping it when it needs to be
Just the
swept
hourly
times a week. Right.
cost.
So you're gonna have those hour costs of those guys doing that. But when you take that, the cost we're currently paying over the next 12 years, but then you pay it towards the turf, and you're enabling more people to use the turf in a better environment, you're actually bettering the overall. So if the numbers that Todd comes up with on an annual cost, and you times that by 12 years, if it's really close to what you're talking about you want to commit, then you're breaking even and actually going above because you're providing a better experience for our kids, and you're allowing more kids to participate in using that field than what we can right now. So really it boils down, in my mind, from the financial side, is our annual cost now multiplied out over 12 years going to equal what we're asking the board to put forward or what you're thinking you might put forward? If it does, it makes a lot more sense. If it doesn't, then I agree, it doesn't necessarily make sense to do that, right? So that annual cost of taking care of our current field really makes a big difference in the decision.
Well, I certainly think that would be something
It'd be
informative for
beneficial
us to have.
that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Thanks for putting that together, Tom. So.
I haven't yet, but I will.
Right. Thanks for taking the time to do it. Yeah, I
Well,
appreciate
and
that.
I'm married to a turf guy. I know, and the chemicals that you do put on it, our
They're
kids are exposed to those chemicals too. Because they're in their clothes, on the ground.
And are we sure the turf isn't going out? I asked that because I talked a little bit to Mark about that this morning, because I was looking at the number of professional fields that have gone from turf back to natural sod, because the professionals don't necessarily like to
Or
play
it's
on
a
turf.
hybrid or something like that.
Right, because they claim that their injuries are higher percentage or something. And there are more natural sod fields now professionally than there are turf fields in the professional.
Well, I think, and it may be that way at the professional level. I think when you talk about high school level, it's going the opposite way. There's more obviously putting turf in.
You have multi-sports.
You get multi-sports to use it. And it's a maintenance issue, right? Because, I think our grass field, most people that have a grass field don't treat it the way we treat it. It's not as good. So to compare our grass field to others, it's much better than most fields that we would play on grass. So I think obviously at the high school level, more districts are putting turf in. At the college level, I'm not sure, but when they replace those, they usually replace them with turf. They don't usually replace them with grass. Now, like at the pro level, they're doing the hybrid thing, but we're talking really 1.4 million when you're, those are big
But even
numbers.
at the college level, they have multiple fields.
Right. I was,
Practice
if you watched
facilities for
football
all
last night, you
sports.
saw they demonstrated how the new stadium in Las Vegas, how they pushed out the artificial turf and brought in the sod turf for the game. They used artificial turf Saturday for college, and they brought the natural sod in for the professionals on Sunday night. So
I would love to have the stadium they have there.
yeah.
Just sweep it
We
up.
can't have that kind of thing going on, though. Okay, well, I think that financial information would help. I'm curious, you said you talked to some of these other schools. How did they pay for their turf? Did the school pay for all the turf, or did they have a lot of private donations? Or I'm just curious, because I find it mind-boggling that there would be a lot of districts that would say, oh, let us pay $1 million for artificial turf, or $1.5 million or whatever.
Yeah, I can find out.
I mean, I'm just.
I will tell you most,
just curious.
a majority, I don't know, but most, a majority of those districts, especially like in our conference, have the 1% sales tax.
Right.
And so that's how they're paying for those turfs. And most you'll see districts or counties that do have that are moving towards facilities like that. And they're either fixing their buildings up,
We've already fixed it.
or they're moving on to, or they're doing both. So that's why you have some districts, such as Unity Tolono, they have a soccer field, they have a baseball infield, and they have a football field, right? And you have other districts that just have a football field. So, I think that's been the impetus to how most people are paying for it. In the past, there have been, before the 1%, I'm sure that there were donations in regards to, and local money that was paid to put a turf in. So but most of it's a 1%.
We determined every conference school but us has the 1%.
Yes.
Is that correct?
And I was gonna say too, I think there's assumptions on both sides, assumptions about how much we're gonna get, how much we're gonna have to pay. And I think we're on the same page, honestly, because we need to get a committed number.
Right.
And everybody might be, oh my, absolutely, that's a win-win, So I think until we get the hard numbers,
Right.
this is all speculation,
Right.
assumptions. We get the hard numbers, we make a decision. you know, and one of my things will be, you know, I want Effingham to be the best. I want us to have the best facilities. I want us to have the best library. I do. I want us to have the best, to be the leader in the area. And that's my thing. But I just think that we got to have hard numbers,
Right.
you know, before we make an informed decision. Absolutely. I think we're on the same page.
Okay. Anything else? I think that one of the things that just seems to be pressuring us is the December deadline. You know, I mean, too bad it's not January or even another month even. It just seems like that's, you know.
So what does happen after that date if we don't make the
They're
decision?
just anticipating the price will go up, I believe.
Well, I think the
Do we
biggest
lose
thing.
another year, or does
Well-
it slide the
well-
schedule back? I mean, what happens if we go January 1st?
Well, I don't
mean,
think,
know
it-
something else.
a lot of that's not up to the district. It's up to the installer.
Well, that's what I mean. If we ask them what happens if we
So
can't
there's,
make
there's
that
no
date?
guarantee, the reason why December is important is there's no guarantee that it'll be done next time. If we get on the list in December before January 1, then they will make sure they start June 1st and have it done by the second week of August. If you're after that, then, and then we want it done next summer, we may not be playing on it until September. That's kind of the timeline that they're thinking. You know, there's no guarantee to us to have it done in the 10-week window we have. So that's one of the issues. The other issue is January 1st every year, price of materials goes up. So if you sign a contract prior to January 1, you have your number locked in. Their number's not good after January 1. They'd have to recalculate where they're at after increased prices. So whatever the board decides to do, those are just the two reasons why they told us we really need to decide in December one way or the other, because it's the schedule to get done and the cost difference that we might see. So.
Okay, that helps. Thank you.
And not to go on about this more and more, but just I've thought about one more question. We may have talked about this before, but are there other companies that could we do a bidding process? I mean, because it just seems like they're just saying to us, oh, after January 1, it's going to go up. Well, I mean, are there other people to talk to?
Yeah, this company has already gone through the bidding process, kind of like a state bid. The group, so that this was opened up to all installers who wanted to bid on this option. And this company won the bid through Sourcewell, right? It's Sourcewell?
Well, they're in Sourcewell, but we're going to use them through TIPS.
Okay.
Which is a different co-op because the pricing is different and it's cheaper through TIPS co-op than Sourcewell. So we'll use the TIPS co-op.
So it's kind of like how we are an SIPC and we buy a bunch of our cleaning equipment and stuff. You know, it's put out there to all bidders. It's kind of like a state bid. And then they get a low bid and you just buy it. You don't have to go through that bidding process because it's already been done.
And Vernon Jones is an installer, so they don't manufacture their own turf. So they go out and they get pricing from 15 different turf manufacturers, and then they pick out, you know, what's the best for your application, and that's what they offer you to install. So they try to make sure that they keep that price low, and they work with a lot of different manufacturers. So you're not buying their turf; they're installing the turf that they believe they can back for the 12
years. Okay.
Anything else on turf? All right, then I believe we are ready for a motion and a second to enter into closed session. Motion by Steve, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Jill, roll call. Up, enter in closed session for the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees of the district and student discipline. Motion by Steve, second by Jill, roll call.
Jill?
Yes.
Jane, yes. Chad?
Yes.
Bishop?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Robin?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay,